Welcome back to the castle, and today we are going over the news from Sony that they are walking away from physical media come January 2028. We're going to be talking about the good, there's some good, the bad, everything in between, if they're even telling the truth about the events that led up to this moment, and what it means for you and what it means for us, right? It's hard to say that we didn't see this coming, because of course we saw this coming. The question on everyone's mind was, which of the big three was going to do this first? And I have to say, I didn't think that it was going to be Sony, yet here we are, right? So sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee, and enjoy the conversation, and contribute below. If I miss something, if I say something wrong, if you want to add to something I said, do all that below, and we'll follow up in a future video. So let's start off with what Sony said. And in their blog, they suggest that they're walking away because, they're just responding to consumer shifts and preferences and things like that. That it just seems like more people are buying digitally than they are physically. And if you go by their numbers, right, they'll say stuff like, well, 85% of games are sold digitally now. It's just your preference, right? That's true. However, they're counting up all games on the platform, right? There's something like 7,500 games on the PlayStation Store. And less than 2,000 of those ever saw a physical release. So when you add all of that together and you say, well, of all the games sold, it's just, of course it is. You never gave us a choice more often than not. So when given no choice and you want to play the game, of course you're buying it digitally, right? Now we know that is misleading because of Sony's own internal data leak, where back in 2023, we found that 33 games, 31 of them sold more physically than they did digitally. And a couple of the highlights are Uncharted 4, where 83% of the games sold were sold physically. Then we get Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, 76% sold physically. Right? And again, Demon Souls, 70% sold physically. So again, when given a choice, seems like, and especially when we believe or are told that the whole game is on the disc, we prefer to buy it on the disc, right? And let me make an important distinction here too. What does it mean for the whole game to be on the disc, right? That means that you should be able to put the game in the console, not connected to the internet at all. It should not need a day one patch. It shouldn't need authentication. It should be the game on the disc playing off a non-networked console as the developer intended, right? Now, as we've gotten into the generations, that has become a thing of the past, right? But when given a choice, we do prefer that. And we know that because we get these limited pressing companies like Limited Run, Strictly Limited. They're the industry that's filling in the gap from that 7,500 and going, well, 2,000's not enough. Let's go and take a look at some of those games that came out only digitally that deserve a physical release and bring that to market. And they do. To great effect, right? Like people buy them, they sell out. They had to open pre-orders because they just weren't able to keep up with the demand, right? This was and is a big deal to us. What's the good? I said there was some good. Well, the good is that in a digital environment, we've given the opportunity to small teams who otherwise wouldn't have been able to afford to bring a game to market, right? To go through all of the manufacturing and risk to take what they'd worked so hard on and hope that people buy it, right? That it picks people's attention from the store shelf, or that it catches a good review on IGN or whatever, right? It gave them the ability to kind of put their game out there with minimal risk, right? Other than their own time and their own investments to just make the thing, right? And that's great. It's beautiful when a game like that takes off, and we've seen many examples. Shovel Knight is one that comes to mind immediately, right? And then you get these companies like Limited Run who see that and they go, that game deserves a physical release. We're going to make that happen. And then they do, right? And that is the industry working, right? That is how it should be and still could be. So what's the bad? I mean, obviously, we're seeing the industry fall apart around us, right? And I'm at the point where I don't even know if the home console market's going to make it. But while that might sound outrageous to say, think about it like this. What is the value proposition? So you get Microsoft, you get Sony, both saying that their next generation hardware is going to be over $1,000, right? We have the Steam machine. It's over $1,000, right? So, we used to live in a world where you'd buy one and then maybe a year or two into the generation buy the other console. That's just not going to be happening, right? So you're going to get people falling into lanes behind a console that doesn't deliver any sense of ownership for anything, right? Like when they spin down the PS6 servers in 15, 20 years, you're going to have a box that doesn't do anything, that you spend a bunch of money on, potentially bought, hundreds or dozens of games, digitally for, and then it's just gone, right? And that empty feeling it's like when you walk into your house after a burglary and somebody had just taken all your stuff. That's what that's going to feel like. That's the bad. The other thing is, with all of this consolidation, right, of choice, right, and Sony says in their announcement, like, oh, we're going to sell it on our digital store and participating stores, as if there's any incentive for you, the consumer, to buy a digital copy on GameStop or something like that and then have to like import that code into your that's a mess. They know it. They're just saying that so it doesn't appear as monopolistic as it is. Surely there will be some in-game bonus where you get a pink outfit instead of a blue one if you go through this guy or that guy. It's all superficial, and I don't think that that's a sustainable plan, right? And I'm just speculating, right? Like, otherwise, why would you buy it from somebody else, right? It's already on your dashboard when you turn on your console. Of course, you're going to buy it there. Yeah, I mean, we're losing access to storytelling, right? And we're losing access to choice, and that's never a good thing, right? Because as these companies absorb these small studios, they're less able to take risks. They're only taking what they think are sure bets on the next Fortnite clone or the annualized Call of Duty release. And even those, I mean, they're starting to just lose their magic, right? Like there was a time where you counted on those because you knew it was going to be something special, and now we get these overworked, understaffed teams that are spread too thin, that have to meet deadlines. The game's not quite ready, but we are entering Q4 and it's got to go. That's the world we live in, right? And it's not a world I wish to be in. So what does this mean for game stores? Well, there's a couple of things. So if I'm a brick and mortar store that takes in trades and things like this, I'm thinking to myself, nothing past PS3. Because once you get past PS3, 360, and I'm keeping Nintendo out of this for the moment, you don't know if that game actually works or not, right? Like they also announced that they're spinning down the PS3 servers at the same time as they announced no more physical media. And so what that means is these games that are incomplete on disc, which is most of them these days, become coasters. 10 years from now when they spin down the PS4 servers, or 5 years from now. It was 5 years ago, remember, that they wanted to stop PS3 before, and then they only kept it going because we all protested, right? But this time around, they're not. So what makes you think that the PS4 or the PS5 digital purchases or games that require online connectivity or downloads to even work are going to work in the future? To me, that's perishable inventory, and if I'm a physical brick and mortar store that takes in trades, I want nothing to do with that. Said I was keeping Nintendo out for now. They're onto their Switch keycard nonsense, which is nonsense, and I'll tell you why. Well, a couple of things. One, the first contention that a lot of apologists will make is that, read speeds. We can't keep up, even the developers of Final Fantasy said blah, 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 right? Well, who's saying it has to read off the keycard? I'm saying it should install onto the console off the keycard, surely, and then you could play it on the console as if it was a digital download, right? And then heck, if you have to make room on your console, you delete it, because why? You can install it again later, right? Boom, perfect. But the next issue, right? Keycard sizes. They only come in this size and this size. Well, who's making that rule exactly? Is it the same company that wants you to move to digital? I think so. So there's shenanigans being pulled. We've got Sony misleading you about how many people are actually choosing to buy digital. We've got Nintendo rigging the game against key cards, right? This is a world where they want people to fall into channels where they can only buy product from their store. They don't want competition. They want freedom of choice. They don't want a free market approach, really, to gaming. And that is not going to serve us in the long run. Now, interestingly, for me, it's going to push people back to retro, and I truly believe that. There are a lot of games that are in people's backlogs that they're going, you know what? Firing up the 360 or my original Xbox or something even older, right? I'm going to get my PS2 out again, right? And we've been seeing PS2 prices skyrocketing because people want a simpler time. They want to know that they actually own something that they can play whenever they want without having to worry about remembering to check in to this account or that account once every 30 days or updating this before they spin down the servers, or oh my gosh, what do I do if my NAND fails on my Wii, right? Now I lost all my Wii Store purchases that aren't recoverable because they don't have a unified account. It's just a bunch of nonsense. It's anti-consumer and we don't like it. Well, we'll leave it there, and I look forward to your comments because I'm sure I missed some things. I'm sure I could have expanded on some things a little bit more, and I think this is just the first video in this series. I started off this channel with, if Project Helix doesn't have a disk drive, it is dead on arrival. I meant it then, I mean it now, and I think as a community, we're starting to see why. So until then, we'll see you at the castle.